Unknown ship appeared, then vanished. Empire never stood a chance. The Imperial patrols were routine, the supply lines steady, and the outer colonies reported only minor problems. The Empire was confident. It had ruled hundreds of star systems for centuries and believed no force could challenge its power. Yet something in Ethan's mind felt wrong. The sensors flickered suddenly. A small blip appeared in deep space near the edge of the patrol zone. It was unlike anything the fleet had recorded. It was not an asteroid, not a standard ship, not even a probe. Its shape was unfamiliar, almost simple, yet strange, and it moved in ways that did not follow known physics. Ethan leaned forward. "Lieutenant, can you identify it?" Lieutenant Sarah Moore shook her head. "No, sir, it isn't transmitting any signals. Our scans can't penetrate its hull. It doesn't match any design in the Imperial database." Ethan frowned. "Could it be a civilian ship from one of the independent sectors?" "Unlikely," Sarah replied. "It doesn't follow normal flight patterns. It's holding position as if it is watching us." The fleet around them began to take notice. Patrol ships sent probes and scanners. Hails were sent, repeated several times, but no answer came. The strange ship did not respond. It did not flee. It did not attack. It simply remained there, almost as if it had a mind of its own. Admiral Ryan Cole's voice came over the comm. "Brooks, maintain your position. Do not engage unless fired upon. Report every movement." Ethan nodded, though unease sat heavy in his chest. He watched the view screen, staring at the black shape of the ship against the starry backdrop. The unknown vessel was silent, almost peaceful, yet it radiated a presence that made every officer on the bridge tense. Hours passed. The strange ship did not move. The patrol fleet buzzed with whispers. Some officers speculated it might be an experimental human craft. Humans had been forgotten long ago by most of the Empire. They were a primitive species on a small, distant death world, their technology considered primitive and dangerous only to themselves. Few believed humans could create something like this. Others whispered of alien threats from beyond the galaxy, though there was no proof. Ethan's own thoughts kept returning to one question: why now? Why appear here in this quiet sector and then remain so still? He could not shake the feeling that the ship was more than a machine. It was intelligent, watching, judging, waiting. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the ship vanished. There was no jump, no flash, no warp signature. One moment it was there, and the next it was gone. The sensors screamed an alert, trying to locate it, but there was nothing. Panic ran quietly through the fleet. No one had seen anything move so fast without using a jump drive. It was impossible. Ethan stared at the blank screen. "Report," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "Sir, it's gone, no trace, no debris, nothing," Sarah replied. Admiral Cole's voice returned over comm. "All units remain alert. This is highly unusual. I want scans running continuously. Do not assume this is a prank or a malfunction. Something just happened that we do not understand." The patrol fleet moved cautiously, scanning the empty space where the ship had been. They found nothing. Not a trace of energy, not a warp signature, not even a shadow of the vessel. It was as if it had never existed, yet every officer felt the same unease. Back on the bridge of the Sentinel, Ethan leaned back in his chair. He thought of humans. Stories told of their strange resilience, their quick learning, and their stubborn survival on a small, harsh world. They had been left alone for centuries, considered harmless and irrelevant. But now, perhaps they were something else, something dangerous. Weeks passed. The fleet returned to routine patrols, though the memory of the unknown ship never left the minds of the officers. At first, the Empire dismissed it. It must have been a sensor error, a glitch, a fluke. But the next reports brought growing concern. Small outposts in the sector began to fail. Supply ships disappeared. Communication relays went silent. At first, these losses were scattered and minor. Patrol officers reported missing vessels, lost contact with colonies, strange blips on the edge of sensor range. Ethan studied the reports. Patterns emerged. Every loss happened shortly after a strange sensor reading, similar to the one that had first brought the unknown ship to the Empire's attention. Analyst Laura King worked tirelessly in the intelligence hub, scanning reports, logs, and sensor data. She noticed that the events were not random. Something or someone was moving faster than the Empire had thought possible. They struck and vanished, leaving no trace. Ethan found himself speaking with her more often. "Laura, do you think it could be humans?" he asked quietly one day while examining another set of logs. Laura looked up from her console. It's possible, sir. Humans are said to have technology beyond what most believe. They were considered primitive for centuries, but their homeworld is harsh. They survived there because they had to. If they've been building technology in secret, we might be seeing the result. Ethan's stomach tightened. The Empire had never feared humans. They had never even truly considered them a threat. And yet now, with only a single mysterious ship appearing and disappearing, the Empire was beginning to feel vulnerable. By the end of the cycle, panic began to creep through the outer sectors. Reports of missing patrols and stations grew more frequent. Fleets sent to investigate often found only wreckage or nothing at all. Fear spread quietly but steadily. Officers whispered in corners, commanders argued over protocols, and the Empire began to realize that something had changed. The quiet, confident certainty of centuries was cracking. Ethan watched the stars from the bridge, thinking of the humans. Their homeworld was harsh, a death world where only the strongest, smartest, and most resourceful survived. Perhaps the Empire had underestimated them all along. Perhaps the unknown ship had been a warning, and then it appeared again. This time it was near an Imperial supply convoy in the outer rim. Ethan received the alert and raced to the bridge. The view screen lit up with the familiar black shape of the unknown vessel, moving slowly, almost lazily, among the convoy ships. The patrol ships rushed to intercept, weapons ready, sensors active, but the ship did not flee. It did not fire, yet the effect was immediate. Systems across the convoy flickered and failed. Engines cut out. Communications went silent. Weapons were disabled. For a moment, chaos reigned, and no one could understand how a single unknown ship could disable an entire convoy without a single shot. Then, as suddenly as it had arrived, the ship vanished again. Not a trace remained, no warp signature, no debris, no evidence of its presence. The convoy drifted in silence, powerless, and the Empire realized something frightening. This was not a simple ship. It was an intelligence, a force, something beyond understanding. Ethan clenched his fists. "This changes everything," he muttered. Laura King's voice came over the comm. "Sir, I've run the numbers. Whoever controls that ship, they can strike anywhere, anytime. The Empire might not even know it's under attack until it's too late." Ethan stared at the blackness of space, feeling the weight of what was coming. The humans, long dismissed as harmless, had announced themselves in the most subtle, terrifying way possible. The Empire had not yet realized it, but the first moves in a war they could not hope to win had already begun weeks past since the first appearance of the unknown ship. The Imperial fleet tried to recover from the sudden shock, but the fear of the humans had already spread through the ranks. Supply convoys and patrols no longer moved confidently. Every jump into deep space brought a sense of dread. Commanders whispered in private, wondering if their fleets could survive another encounter with this strange, invisible power. Aiton Brooks, still on the Sentinel, spent hours analyzing reports. Every patrol that had vanished seemed to follow a similar pattern. First, the unknown ship appeared nearby, sometimes for only moments. Then systems failed. Ships lost power and communications went dark. No trace of battle remained. Sometimes entire squads disappeared without a sign. It was as if the humans were ghosts, striking only when convenient, then vanishing without a trace. Analyst Laura King had been working tirelessly to find patterns in the losses. She noticed that the attacks were precise. The humans never wasted effort. They targeted supply lines, command hubs, and communication relays first. Then, when the Empire's attention turned to one sector, the humans would vanish and appear somewhere else. The more she studied, the more convinced she became. This was a species that had learned patience and precision, not brute force. It was a terrifying combination. "Sir," Laura said one morning, her voice tense over the comm, "they are learning us. Every time we try to predict them, they are somewhere else. It is as if they can see our moves before we make them." Aiton frowned. "Could it be some advanced sensor trick, some unknown technology?" "Maybe," Laura replied, "but humans are known to be resourceful. On their homeworld, they survived harsh conditions for centuries. Maybe this is just an extension of that. Maybe they learned to fight like predators in the dark." Aiton leaned back in his chair. He remembered the stories from older officers about humans. They had been dismissed for decades. A small species on a death world, weak and fragile. Yet somehow they had survived every attempt by neighboring empires to control them. Maybe their survival instinct had turned into something far deadlier than anyone had imagined. The first real strike came without warning. An Imperial station on the outer rim sent a routine report of minor energy fluctuations. Within hours, the station went silent. Reinforcements arrived the next cycle and found nothing. The station was empty. Power cores were intact, but every console, every system, every piece of machinery had stopped working. It was as if someone had simply pressed pause on the entire facility. Aiton received the report personally. He studied the sensors carefully. No weapons fire, no warp jump, nothing. How can one ship disable a station like this? He asked Laura. It's human technology, sir, Laura replied. I don't know how, but it's theirs. We underestimated them. They didn't attack us openly. They never needed to. They only had to disable our systems and watch. Across the sector, similar attacks continued. Supply ships disappeared. Patrols went missing. Convoys were delayed or rerouted, but no one could predict where the humans would strike next. Fear spread through the Empire faster than the attacks themselves. Fleet officers became cautious, hesitant. They stopped taking risks, stopped exploring new sectors. Even experienced admirals grew uneasy. Admiral Ryan Cole called an emergency meeting with the senior commanders. We are facing an enemy we cannot see, an enemy that strikes at will, he said. Our technology, our fleets, even our intelligence cannot match them. We must act differently. We must adapt, or we will lose everything. Aiton listened quietly. He wanted to speak, but the words stuck in his throat. He remembered the unknown ship, how it had appeared without warning, then vanished without trace. He thought of the humans, of their small death world, their unknown fleets, their patience, their precision. They were not invaders, they were predators. The next encounter proved it. A small Imperial patrol moved through a neutral sector, expecting nothing unusual. Suddenly, sensor warnings flashed across the bridge. The unknown ship appeared directly within the patrol formation. Weapons fired, but they were useless. Systems flickered and failed. Engines died. Communications cut out. Officers scrambled to understand what was happening, but the humans vanished before anyone could respond. The patrol drifted helplessly in space, powerless and confused. When power returned to some of the ships, the patrol commander radioed the sentinel. Sir, the humans, they are like ghosts. One moment here, the next gone. No one can stop them. We barely survived. Aiton felt a chill run through him. How many ships? He asked. 12, the patrol commander replied. All but 2 disabled. We only survived because we were lucky. Luck had nothing to do with it, Aiton thought. The humans were teaching the Empire a lesson, slowly, carefully, without unnecessary violence. They were showing that brute force was useless, that even a large empire could be powerless against a patient, intelligent enemy. Back on the Sentinel, Aiton studied star charts and reports. He noticed that the attacks followed a pattern. Humans struck where the Empire was weakest, avoided the strongest fleets, and disappeared before retaliation could occur. It was not chaos, it was strategy. Laura King analyzed the pattern with him. Sir, they may have observed us for years, maybe decades. They know our movements, our response times, our weaknesses. We are predictable. They are not. Aiton's mind raced. He thought of the first unknown ship that had appeared and vanished without warning. It had been only a scout, perhaps. Now the humans were striking systematically. Supply lines, patrols, stations, everything the Empire relied on to maintain order. They were teaching the Empire helplessness. The Empire responded with fear, trying to concentrate fleets in certain sectors. But every time they did, humans appeared elsewhere. No attack was the same. No response worked. Commanders tried ambushes, traps, diversions, but humans avoided them all, disappearing as if they had never been there. Aiton spoke to his officers. We are facing a new kind of enemy, one that does not fight openly. One that does not need to. We cannot assume strength will win. We have to think differently. His officers nodded quietly. No one dared argue. Every report confirmed the same thing. Humans were unstoppable in ways the Empire could not yet understand. Meanwhile, colonies on the edge of Imperial space grew restless. News of missing fleets and destroyed stations reached them quickly. They began to question Imperial protection. Merchants delayed shipments. Governors demanded answers. Fear spread beyond the fleets and into civilian sectors. Humans had not attacked openly, yet the Empire's control began to falter. Aiton realized that humans did not need to strike directly to win. Their appearance alone, brief and precise, was enough to create panic. The Empire's confidence was crumbling. Officers were second-guessing commands, fleets hesitated to leave safe zones, and colonies whispered of revolt. One day, the Sentinel received a distress signal from an isolated supply hub. The message was simple: all systems failing. Unknown enemy, please send help. Aiton ordered the fleet to investigate. By the time they arrived, the hub was dead, lights were out, life support barely functioned. The humans had left nothing but silence behind. Sir, Laura said, scanning the remains, this is not destruction. They are disabling, controlling, observing. They are teaching a lesson. We are being shown our weakness. Aiton nodded slowly. The realization hit him hard. The Empire had ruled by fear for centuries. No one had ever challenged it openly. But humans were not afraid. Humans were not following expected rules. Humans were rewriting the game entirely. Even in the council chambers of the Empire, fear began to show. Admirals argued, politicians whispered, and scientists admitted that the human technology could be centuries ahead in some ways. Reports arrived constantly, each one more frightening than the last. Fleets disappeared, stations went offline, and convoys never arrived. Aiton looked at the stars from the bridge, thinking of the humans on their death world. Their planet had been harsh, unforgiving, and yet they had survived. Now they had moved into space, quiet, precise, unstoppable. The Empire had not even seen them coming until it was already too late. Weeks later, another fleet sent to patrol the outer rim reported sudden system failures. One by one, ships went silent, engines stopped, weapons disabled. They barely managed to return to base. Every crew member spoke the same words: humans, precise, unstoppable, gone before we could react. Aiton gathered his senior officers. We are no longer dealing with a simple enemy, he said. They are not attacking us openly. They do not need to. We are already losing. We must understand this enemy before it is too late. The officers nodded in silence. No one could argue. The humans had shown the Empire a new kind of power, a power that was quiet, invisible, and patient. A power that the Empire could not hope to match if it did not learn quickly. For the first time, the Empire felt fear. And the humans, patient and unseen, waited for the perfect moment to strike again. The Empire was in chaos. Fleets that had once patrolled confidently now moved slowly, cautiously, always scanning for a threat they could not see. Supply lines faltered, outposts went silent, and communication delays grew longer with every passing day. The unknown human ship had appeared repeatedly, striking without warning, disabling systems, and disappearing without trace. Fear had settled over the Empire like a heavy shadow. Commander Aiton Brooks paced the bridge of the Sentinel, watching the view screen. Every flicker of sensor readings made his heart race. He had spent weeks trying to understand the humans, but nothing made sense. They did not follow known tactics. They did not fight like other species. They struck and vanished as if space itself obeyed their will. Analyst Laura King entered the bridge quietly. "Sir, another fleet has reported an encounter," she said, handing over a tablet. This time, they saw the ship appear directly inside their formation for a few seconds before everything went offline. Aiton studied the report. "How many ships?" he asked. 20, Laura replied. "All systems went dark at once. No weapons fired, engines failed, communications cut out, then the ship vanished." Aiton leaned back. The humans were not just avoiding battle, they were showing that battle was useless. The Empire's fleets, its pride and power, were nothing against a species that could disable them instantly and silently. Admiral Ryan Cole called an emergency meeting. All senior officers were present, tension heavy in the room. "We cannot fight what we cannot see," Cole said. "We need a new approach. Suggestions?" The room was silent. No one dared speak. Everyone knew the humans were watching, learning. Then Aiton cleared his throat. "Sir, they are not trying to destroy us yet. They are testing us, showing us limits. They are patient. If we try to force a fight, we will lose more than we already have. We need to change strategy. We need observation, not attack." Cole frowned. "And how do you propose we do that, Brooks? We cannot track them. We cannot predict them. They appear and vanish at will." Aiton looked at the star charts. "We study the pattern. Every attack, every appearance, every disappearance. They leave traces, subtle ones, even if we cannot detect them immediately. If we analyze carefully, we can anticipate their moves. And then, maybe we can communicate." Laura added, "Sir, I have been working on a method to detect the unique energy signature they leave behind. It is weak, almost impossible to track, but it might allow us to locate them before they strike." Cole nodded slowly. "Do it." But understand this, if we fail, more fleets will be lost. The humans are not showing mercy. They are teaching us a lesson we might not survive. Weeks later, Aiton and Laura monitored the outer rim from the Sentinel. Every sensor was active, every system alert on. They waited. Then in a quiet moment, the unknown ship appeared again. This time, it hovered silently near a small Imperial convoy, no more than a few dozen ships. Aiton held his breath. "Prepare to record everything," he whispered. The ship's presence was calm, almost peaceful, but the effect was immediate. Lights flickered, engines shuddered, weapons disabled. The convoy drifted silently, unable to act. Then, unexpectedly, a human transmission came through. Calm, clear, and precise. "This is humanity," the voice said. "We have observed your empire for centuries. We understand your power and your fear. We do not seek unnecessary destruction. We only wish to make one thing clear: we are not to be underestimated." Aiton felt a chill. The humans were not hiding anymore. They were speaking directly. Their ship remained invisible to most sensors, yet it held authority over the entire fleet. Crew members stared at the screens, unable to process the calm confidence in the voice. "What do they want?" a young lieutenant asked. Aiton shook his head. "They want us to understand our weakness, to realize that our empire is not invincible, and if we ignore them, we will pay the price." The transmission continued. "We do not seek war, but we will act if forced. Your fleets are vast, but your coordination is weak. Your strategy relies on predictability. We are patient, precise, and persistent. Learn from this, or you will lose everything." Then, as suddenly as it had arrived, the ship vanished. No trace remained. The convoy remained powerless for minutes before engines slowly came back online. The crew looked around in silence, realizing they had faced a power beyond comprehension and survived only because the humans chose not to destroy them. Aiton turned to Laura. "This is it." This is the first time they spoke directly. They could have destroyed the fleet in seconds, but they didn't. "They are showing us mercy, but also warning us." Laura nodded. "We need to understand them fully, sir. Their technology, their strategy, their patience. They are teaching us, but we must learn quickly." In the following cycles, the humans continued their pattern. They appeared, disabled systems, issued brief transmissions, and vanished. Each encounter left the Empire weaker, confused, and fearful. Officers whispered of a species that had survived against all odds, grown stronger in isolation, and now moved with precision and confidence across the galaxy. The humans' strategy was clear. They were not attacking blindly. They were teaching the Empire its limitations. No fleet could stop them, no weapon could harm them, no tactic could predict them. Yet they were not reckless. They acted with care, observing every move, learning every response. Aiton realized something important. The humans did not need to fight to win. They only needed to show their capability. Their presence alone caused fear, hesitation, and mistakes. The Empire's size, once its greatest strength, was now its weakness. Coordination became difficult, response times slowed, and panic spread. Admiral Cole understood this too. In a council meeting, he admitted for the first time that humans were not primitive. "We have underestimated them for centuries," he said. "They are not just a species, they are a force that uses patience, intelligence, and precision as weapons. We cannot fight them like any enemy we have known." Aiton returned to the Sentinel and stared at the stars. He thought of the humans on their small death world, surviving harsh conditions, learning, growing, preparing. And now, in space, they moved silently, unseen, unstoppable. The Empire had ignored them, laughed at them, and now it was paying the price. The next human appearance was more deliberate. This time, the unknown ship appeared near the capital sector, where the largest fleet in the Empire was stationed. Alarms blared as sensors detected an unknown vessel inside the formation. Weapons fired, but nothing responded. Engines died. Shields flickered and went offline. Panic swept through the capital fleet. Aiton, observing from the Sentinel, felt the full weight of the Empire's vulnerability. The humans could strike anywhere, disable any ship, and vanish before anyone could react. The largest fleet in Imperial history had been brought to a standstill by a single unknown vessel, piloted by a species dismissed as weak and primitive. Then came another transmission, calm and clear, echoing through every working channel. "This is humanity. We have no desire for unnecessary destruction, but we will act if forced. Learn from this, adapt, survive. We will not strike without reason, but we will not wait forever." Officers and crew alike were stunned. The humans were not attacking indiscriminately. they were teaching. They were demonstrating power, showing the Empire its flaws and giving a chance to understand. Yet the warning was unmistakable. If the Empire ignored it, the humans would act, and the consequences would be total. Aiton turned to Laura. They are patient, precise, and intelligent. We must learn from this. If we do not, more fleets will be lost, more lives destroyed. This is not just a warning, it is a test. Laura nodded. Sir, the Empire has never faced an enemy like this. Humans are teaching us what fear is and how to survive it. If we ignore them, we will fail. For the first time in centuries, the Empire realized that size, strength, and history did not guarantee survival. A small, patient species, long ignored, had shown the galaxy that it could command respect without firing a single shot. The humans' message was clear. They were no longer primitive. They were no longer invisible, and the Empire, if it did not change, would lose everything. Aiton watched the stars, knowing that the humans would strike again. They would not need to fight openly. They would only need to show their presence, their intelligence, and their power. And every time they did, the Empire would feel the weight of its own weakness, the fragility of its fleets, and the danger of underestimating a species that had survived, learned, and now commanded space with quiet, unstoppable authority. The first direct contact had changed everything. The Empire could no longer act with certainty. Fear had replaced confidence. Hesitation had replaced decisiveness. The humans had not destroyed them, but they had won far more than any battle could achieve. They had won knowledge, respect, and the proof that the Empire was not untouchable. And in the silence of space, the humans waited, patient and precise, for the Empire to learn, or to fall. The Empire was crumbling. Fleets that had once inspired fear now moved cautiously, unsure where the humans would strike next. Supply lines were interrupted, communication hubs went silent, and entire sectors were left without power or protection. The humans had proven they could disable ships, stations, and fleets without firing a single weapon. The Empire's confidence had evaporated, replaced by fear and hesitation. Commander Aiton Brooks watched reports come in from across the outer rim. One after another, fleets had been disabled, convoys captured or destroyed, stations left powerless. Every attack followed the same pattern. Humans appeared briefly, systems failed, and then they vanished. Sometimes they left messages, calm and precise, warning the Empire to learn or suffer. Other times they left nothing at all, letting the fear spread through the Empire on its own. Analyst Laura King approached him on the bridge of the Sentinel. Sir, the humans are escalating. They are no longer just showing power. They are striking strategically. Entire supply chains have collapsed in 3 sectors. The outer rim is on the verge of revolt. They are weakening us before the fleet even engages them. Aiton nodded grimly. He had expected this. The humans did not fight like the Empire. They did not need fleets of thousands. They did not need overwhelming firepower. They were patient. They were precise. They were teaching the Empire how fragile it had become. In the capital, Admiral Ryan Cole convened a council. Our fleets cannot match them, he said. Their ships appear and vanish. Our weapons fail against them. We cannot even predict their movements. Our empire, vast and powerful, is helpless. One of the younger officers spoke up. Sir, we could try to concentrate all our fleets, overwhelm them with numbers. Cole shook his head. We have tried that. Their first contact showed us that brute force does nothing. The humans strike where we are weakest. They do not fight on our terms. If we continue to rely on strength, we will lose everything. Aiton realized that the humans were not just attacking, they were rewriting the rules of war. The Empire had always relied on size, power, and intimidation. Humans relied on patience, intelligence, and precision. Where the Empire was predictable, humans were unpredictable. Where the Empire attacked blindly, humans studied and struck with knowledge. The first coordinated human strike came without warning. The Outer Rim Fleet, composed of over 50 ships, moved through a system that had reported strange sensor anomalies. Sensors began flickering, engines shuddered, and weapon systems failed one by one. Within minutes, the fleet was paralyzed. The humans appeared briefly among the ships, moving in ways no sensors could predict, then vanished. Several vessels were disabled, drifting in space, unable to respond. Aiton and Laura studied the attack from the Sentinel. Sir, they are hitting where it hurts, Laura said. Command hubs, supply chains, shipyards, every strike is strategic. They are dismantling our ability to respond before any real battle starts. They do not need to fight openly, Aiton said. Each strike teaches a lesson, each appearance shows our weakness. Fleets are disabled, morale is shattered, and we have done nothing to stop them. Across the galaxy, the Empire was losing control. Governors sent urgent messages to the capital, begging for protection. Supply lines were unreliable. Colonies feared revolt and sabotage. The humans had not conquered a single planet openly, yet fear alone had destabilized the Empire. In one outer sector, Fleet Commander Adam Scott watched helplessly as his ships lost power one by one. The unknown human ship appeared briefly in the formation, systems shutting down instantly. He attempted to retaliate, but weapons failed, engines faltered, and communication was lost. By the time the systems recovered, the humans were gone. "Sir," his lieutenant whispered, "they could have destroyed us completely. Why did they stop?" Scott shook his head. "They are teaching us. They do not need to destroy. They only need to show what we cannot withstand." The Empire tried every tactic it knew. Ambushes were planned, traps were set, decoys deployed. Each time, humans avoided them with ease, striking elsewhere and leaving the Empire struggling to respond. Fleets became hesitant. Commanders feared movement. Hesitation spread faster than attacks. Every sector became isolated. Aiton convened his officers on the Sentinel. "We are being outmatched," he said. "Not by strength, but by intelligence. They strike precisely where we are weakest. They teach fear. They are patient, and we cannot match it. Our fleets are large, but our response is slow. Our confidence is gone." Laura added, "Sir, they are not fighting to conquer. They are fighting to weaken, to show that the Empire cannot control space as it believes. If we understand this, we may survive. If we do not, we will collapse entirely." The next strike proved Laura's point. A convoy of fuel and supplies for the capital fleet was traveling through a lightly defended sector. Sensors picked up a faint blip, then nothing. Engines cut out, weapons failed, and the ships drifted silently in space. The human vessel appeared briefly, then vanished. Supplies were lost. Fleets that depended on them were stranded. Morale fell further. In the capital, Admiral Cole received reports from every sector. "They are dismantling us piece by piece," he said, pale and tense. "They are patient, precise, and we cannot stop them. Our empire is vulnerable. We have never faced an enemy like this." The humans' actions were methodical. They did not destroy indiscriminately. They did not attack civilians. They did not conquer planets openly. But their attacks on fleets, supply chains, and stations were enough to cripple the Empire's ability to respond. Every strike taught fear. Every disappearance left confusion. Every appearance proved their power. Aiton watched from the Sentinel as another fleet drifted powerless. He thought of humans on their death world, surviving harsh conditions for centuries. They had learned patience, intelligence, and precision to survive. Now in space, they applied those skills to dismantle an empire that had never truly feared them. He turned to Laura. "They are teaching us a new kind of war," he said. "One that does not rely on numbers, weapons, or size. One that relies on knowledge, patience, and precision. We cannot fight them as we have fought before. We must learn quickly or we will be destroyed." Laura nodded. "Sir, the Empire will not survive if we ignore this lesson. Every fleet lost, every supply chain disrupted, every station disabled is a step closer to total collapse. We must adapt or we will fall completely." The humans continued their pattern. Fleets were disabled, supply lines interrupted, stations lost, and communication hubs silenced. The Empire's coordination faltered. Hesitation became standard. Commanders feared movement. Colonies questioned imperial protection. The humans had not conquered openly, yet the Empire was collapsing faster than any battle could achieve. One evening, Aiton stood on the bridge of the Sentinel, staring at the stars. The humans had shown their power repeatedly, and yet they had not destroyed a single world. They had only shown the Empire what it could not withstand. Fleets, supply lines, stations, coordination, all had proven fragile before the patient, precise, unstoppable humans. "Sir," Laura said softly, "they are not reckless, they are patient, they are precise. They will strike again, but only when necessary. They are teaching us how fragile we are." Aiton nodded. "And if we do not learn, Laura, we will lose everything." The Empire's fleets were large, its technology advanced, its history long. Yet none of that mattered against the humans. The humans had shown that patience, intelligence, and precision could dismantle an empire without firing a single shot at civilians, without conquering planets openly, and without a single fleet surrendering voluntarily. Aiton realized the truth. Humans did not need to fight to win. Their presence alone, their intelligence, their control over space and technology was enough. Fleets hesitated, stations failed, supply chains collapsed, and the Empire's confidence crumbled. Humanity had won not by fire or conquest, but by showing the Empire its weaknesses. As the stars blinked silently, Aten knew the humans were patient. They would strike again, always precisely, always unseen, always teaching the Empire a lesson it had ignored for centuries. And with every strike, the Empire fell further, piece by piece, until it might collapse entirely without a single open battle. The Empire had underestimated humans for centuries. Now it was paying the price. And humanity, patient, precise, and unstoppable, continued its quiet campaign, dismantling the Empire step by step, preparing for the final moment when it would end the Empire completely. The Empire was on the edge of collapse. Fleets moved slowly, always cautious, unsure where the humans would strike next. Supply lines were broken, communication hubs were dark, and entire sectors were left vulnerable. The unknown human ship had shown its power repeatedly. It disabled fleets, stations, and convoys without firing a single shot at civilians. Fear had replaced confidence, hesitation had replaced decisiveness, and the Empire's pride was crumbling. Commander Aten Brooks watched the reports on the bridge of the Sentinel. Every system alert told the same story. Humans had struck again. This time, a major shipyard that produced hundreds of vessels for the Imperial fleet had gone offline. No trace of attack remained, no evidence of battle, no debris. Systems had simply failed and humans had vanished. Fleets that depended on the shipyard were stranded, unable to respond to other emergencies. Analyst Laura King approached, her face pale. "Sir, the shipyard is completely disabled. Hundreds of ships cannot be built, fueled, or repaired. Our fleets are trapped. The Empire's ability to respond is gone. This is the final stage." Aten felt a chill. The humans were patient, precise, unstoppable, and they did not need to attack openly to win. The Empire's size, which had always been its strength, was now its weakness. Fleets were isolated, supply chains disrupted, stations powerless. The humans had taught the Empire a lesson it could not ignore. In the capital, Admiral Ryan Cole convened the council. His voice was tight, controlled. "The humans are no longer testing us. Their strikes are systematic. They are dismantling our empire completely. If we do not act, we will fall entirely." One of the younger officers spoke, shaking. "Sir, what can we do? We cannot fight them. Fleets fail instantly. Stations are powerless. We cannot predict them." Cole sighed. "We have one choice. We must surrender or adapt. And even surrender may not guarantee safety. Humans are teaching us, yes, but their patience has limits. They will act if forced." Aten stood quietly. He understood. The humans had not sought conquest, yet their actions left the Empire powerless. They had struck only where necessary, showing how weak the Empire truly was. Now the Empire faced the choice: learn and adapt quickly or be annihilated. The humans struck again. A fleet of over 70 ships, the largest remaining in the Outer Rim, moved toward a supply sector. Sensors flickered. Engines failed. Weapons and shields went offline. Communications cut out. The unknown human ship appeared inside the formation for only a few moments, yet it disabled nearly every vessel. Then a calm transmission came through. "This is humanity. We have observed you. We have given warnings. We have disabled your fleets and infrastructure without unnecessary destruction. Learn from this, or we will act decisively. We do not seek conquest, but we will not wait indefinitely." The fleets remained powerless for minutes, drifting silently in space. Crews stared at consoles, unable to comprehend the calm authority of the voice. Aten listened carefully. The humans had made their choice. They had proven power without destroying planets, fleets, or civilians. They had shown the Empire its limits. Admiral Cole made a decision. "We will convene surrender talks," he said. "We have lost the ability to resist. Humanity is not seeking to conquer, but they have shown us our weakness. If we do not act, there may be no empire left." Aten nodded. He turned to Laura. "They did not attack recklessly. They never needed to. Fleets disabled, shipyards crippled, supply chains broken. They have done more with patience and precision than entire fleets ever could." Laura looked at the reports. "Sir, this is history. Humans have rewritten the rules of war. They have defeated the Empire not by fighting, but by showing what we cannot withstand. We may survive only if we understand this." As the surrender talks began, the humans did not appear openly. They remained unseen, watching quietly. The Empire sent envoys, representatives, and diplomats, all cautious, all fearful. They delivered messages of compliance, promises to respect humans' terms, and pledges to reorganize fleets and governance. Then, a single human vessel appeared in orbit above the capital. It did not fire, it did not move aggressively. It hovered silently, a simple black ship, its design unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. A calm transmission came through to every working channel. "We accept your compliance. We seek balance, not conquest. We will guide, not destroy. Learn from this, adapt, survive. The galaxy has changed, and so must you." The Empire listened in silence. Centuries of pride and arrogance melted away in that moment. The humans had shown patience, precision, intelligence, and restraint. The Empire's largest fleets, most powerful shipyards, and most advanced stations had been neutralized without the need for violence. Entire sectors had been paralyzed, yet no civilian had been harmed, no planet conquered. Commander Aiton Brooks realized the truth. The humans had won, not through weapons, not through fleets, not through war in the traditional sense. They had won by demonstrating their strength, teaching the Empire its weaknesses, and showing that true power lies in patience, intelligence, and precision. Analyst Laura King spoke quietly. "Sir, we have learned more in these cycles than centuries of traditional warfare. Humans have shown us that strength alone is meaningless if it is not guided by intelligence and strategy. They have rewritten everything." Aiton looked at the stars. Humans had survived on their death world for centuries, mastering harsh conditions, learning to adapt, and now in space they commanded respect without firing indiscriminately. They had been underestimated for too long. The Empire had ignored them. Now it had paid the price. Weeks passed, and the Empire began to reorganize under human guidance. Fleets were rebuilt with new strategies, communication hubs restored with human technology, and colonies regained confidence. Humans did not rule directly, but their presence, their methods, and their guidance changed the galaxy. The Empire adapted, learning patience, precision, and strategy over brute force and arrogance. Commander Aiton Brooks remained on the Sentinel, watching the stars. He thought of the unknown human ship, quiet, precise, unstoppable. Humanity had shown restraint, but also power beyond imagination. Fleets, stations, and supply lines had been disabled without open war. The Empire had learned its lesson the hard way. Analyst Laura King smiled faintly. "Sir, history will remember this. The humans did not conquer. They did not destroy. They showed strength without violence, intelligence without aggression, and patience without haste. The Empire will survive, but changed forever." Aiton nodded. "They are unlike any enemy we have faced. They have taught us humility, caution, and respect. We underestimated humans for centuries, and now we will never forget." And so the Empire survived, but not as it had been. Humans, patient and precise, had demonstrated that the true measure of power was not fleets, weapons, or history. It was intelligence, patience, and the ability to act when necessary. They had changed the galaxy, not by conquest, but by showing the Empire its limits and teaching it to respect a species long underestimated. As the unknown human ship vanished once more, Aiton Brooks knew that the galaxy had entered a new era. One where humans would not conquer recklessly, but where every empire, every fleet, and every species would learn that when humanity moved, even the strongest could not stand in its way. The Empire had faced its greatest lesson. Humanity had shown the galaxy that true strength is quiet, precise, and unstoppable. The unknown ship, which had first appeared and vanished without warning, had changed history forever. The galaxy would never be the same.